Behind every great song, there is a greater story. Deeper than music radio. Behind every Deeper than music radio. Behind every great song is a greater story.
Deeper than music. The core of you, the fans, the truth. It's deeper than music. Deeper than music. Simply the truth is the latest, the newest. It's deeper than music. Deeper than music. The core of you, the fans, the truth. It's deeper than music. Deeper than music. Simply the truth is the latest, the newest. It's deeper than music. Deeper than music.
Deeper than music radio. Behind every great song, there's an even greater story. What's up? This is Marquivas with another great episode here of Deeper Than Music Radio. I'd like to say what's up to everybody listening to us on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Cast FM, and all the other great podcasting platforms that are streaming this podcast. You know, Deeper Than Music Radio is, we interview very, very talented people here on the platform. Today we have a very special treat. We have Oksana by way of the Ukraine and Russia. She also went to the Royal Academy of Music in London. In 2006, she got some notoriety when her song became popular on Josh Groban's album Awake. So she has a passion for music and is basically writing about relationships and the human experience. Also in 2019, she released multiple original projects under Bungalo Records with an exclusive distribution via Universal Music Group. Ladies and gentlemen, today on Deeper Than Music, we have special guest Oksana here on Deeper Than Music. Oksana, how are you doing?
Hi, Marquivas. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm doing great. I appreciate you very much for having me.
Not a problem. And I wanted to, man, you've had such a treasured career, and I mean, it's only just starting. My first question is, when did you know you wanted to be in music? I understand that you went to the Royal Academy. When did it all start? When did you have a passion for music and knew that this was going to be your career?
Actually, I was 3 years old when I started to take lessons with my mom, because both of my parents used to be working as professors of music, and I kind of started very early. And eventually, obviously, I wasn't thinking that it could be my career in future. At that age, you don't really think that way. But I started to make songs up at around 6 years old. I started writing like tunes and little songs for the movies or cartoon images. So that's how it started.
Oh, wow. And as I stated, so you're originally from the Ukraine. You also lived in Russia and went to the Royal
London.
Academy in Music in London. So when you knew that you wanted to be a musician, I imagine, like, how did the journey, did you start in the Ukraine, and then, like, how did you get to the Royal Music Academy, or Royal Academy of Music, I should say?
Well, I started out as a pianist, so I went through all the schooling, rigorous schooling for concert piano studies, and preparing to be a performer, and a teacher accompanies sort of in that area. Kind of from many hours of practicing, the way we used to train, it was like 10 hours a day at some point in your life.
Wow.
And it was pretty demanding, just to prepare for the concert level, because it's very demanding, or at least for me it needed that many hours. Some people could get away with 5, but they were more talented, I suppose. So I just needed more, because I was always kind of nervous to perform. I was kind of shy of stage, so, and still in the background, although initially I started as a concert pianist, but I've always written, composed, so that's kind of how it derived into writing songs for short films, scoring movies, and eventually writing songs, and writing my own little stories with words, and it was just it was therapeutic. It still is. It's a beautiful thing to be able to create. I think it's a calling of each soul is to be creative. I think it's the highest calling.
So initially you started off as a pianist, and then it evolved to songwriting, and then becoming a singer.
Yes, writing songs and becoming a singer-songwriter, collaborating with lots of people like Charlie Midnight and with Josh Groban, David Foster. Those are fantastic people. I got so lucky. And just many other artists that are people who enjoy creativity. They love to tell their story and to perhaps make other people change their life, even in a small way. It's still affecting the world in a positive way. So I always love that storytelling through the music, songwriting. It's beautiful. Yeah.
So and how did you get to the Royal Academy, or what was the catalyst for you moving to London?
Well, that was still to do with concert piano studies. I just went on from music university in Russia, then I went to conservatoire, then I moved to London and I tried colleges there. And studied at Trinity and Royal Academy with greatest people, but that was all to do with classical, strictly classical piano, concert piano studies.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're in London. What was the catalyst? What brought you to the U.S. and then eventually Bungalo Records?
Actually, I moved to the U.S., to Los Angeles, to New York a little bit, and then mostly Los Angeles with my, my ex-husband. So, yes, and he was in movie industry, so he was traveling between Britain and America, and so yeah, I just came with him and started to get interested in actually Los Angeles and creative people here, and inspiration brought me back to something that I was so passionate when I was 6 years old, writing songs and writing little scoring themes for movies and children films at that point. Mm-hmm. So it just fell into right place. And also songwriting, because when I write a song, it's sort of like I'm almost making the song for a story. That could be placed in a film.
Yeah.
I'm sort of very visual, I think all the writers are that way. I believe that. So, and I love collaborating with other people, because every time you write with another person, would it be a lyricist or, a producer? Like right now, I'm working with very, very talented young people. Monroe and Dave Berg, a great producer, and she's a tremendous songwriter. They just enrich you, these people, and I don't know, it's just my soul just sings when I get together with creative people, and we can exchange and grow.
Yeah. So
it's a beautiful, yeah.
I was going to say, and so your songwriting, you keep in mind that you keep it open for scores.
Placement, absolutely.
And I imagine that's how in 2006 your talents landed you on you had got a placement on Josh Groban's album Awake. How did that come about?
Well, actually, I was submitting songs at that point, and I wrote 3 songs, I think, or 4 songs that I thought could be possible for Josh to like or appreciate, and he chose a few, but then we ended up just with one going on his album. But still, I was very thrilled because David Foster was producing the song. It couldn't be more magnificent of a production, actually. And yeah, even though the song was then translated to Spanish, still it was a very magical experience, just going through the process. Actually, the process is the most interesting to me, rather than the final destination. The process is always much more magical in a way, And
I was going to ask you, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and then you just sort of give your baby to the world and move on, kind of thing. And hopefully they'll enjoy it.
So you mentioned the process. I wanted to ask, what is your creative process like when you're writing, when you're coming up with these songs? Like, what is your process?
That's actually a very interesting question, because just a few years back, I used to always come from the melody, and the melody will come in the middle of the night. So I would hum it or run down and record it, run down to the piano, just record it real quick so I don't forget it. Because by the morning, I normally did not remember. So that was definitely coming from a melody. But then eventually, it comes from anything. Like if the punchline of a chorus will come into you in the middle of the night, and then from that, then you can come up with a melody. So there is no really rhyme or reason or recipe for it. It's kind of how it downloads itself, so to speak.
Okay, so it's like when that moment hits you, that's when you got to run and capture it.
It kind of, because you forget, or you will change it, or, it's like, well, I'm saying of myself, I normally would change it by the morning, or I'll just forget and come up with other things. But I just would always wish that I had that one that came up at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah. So speaking of, so now we talked about your music and the creative process. So I want to get into the music. So the first song I want to get into, like the title itself grabs me, is Pissed. Can you give us a synopsis on the song, the background of this song, Pissed?
Sure. I cannot say that I wrote the lyrics, but it was co-written by another wonderful lyricist, and of course the Tony Hayes, and my producer, unfortunately, and really, really great friend and partner, business partner, passed away just before the end of 2019.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So, but yes, he did those all of those songs from last year, and there's two more that have not been released. They're coming out with Bungalo Records in April. Actually, it's 5 songs coming out, but 2 of them I've done with Tony Haynes and Lloyd, who unfortunately is no longer here with us. So, but it was a very, very creative process. We sort of, Tony and I would talk and would come up with lyrics, but then I would come up with some ideas, and then Tony will just write down the lyrics, and then I would come up with a melody, and then we bring it to Lloyd, and that was pretty much the same with all the songs, because we did 5 songs together. But it's very different with, again, every person. Specifically, the song Pissed, I think it's self-explanatory.
Yeah.
But it's about, obviously, a relationship, and when one person just had enough, they kind of putting their foot down, and that's it. It's the end of a relationship, I suppose, but there's some grievance to it, and I like it. It's very dramatic. But right now, I'm actually writing very different songs, kind of very different, even stylistically. They're much more sort of nowadays accessible songs. And one of them is called Lemonade, and I'm doing a video to this song with a Russian producer and director. They're coming from Moscow on the 21st.
Oh, okay.
And that song, I wanted to play to you, but I haven't actually. It needs final touches on the production, because I'm also co-producing it with Dave Berg.
Okay.
And the song is about when life gives you lemons, you can make lemonade. And the song is written for my daughter, who's 10 years old, who is completely and utterly my angel and everything in my life, as well as my son. But this specifically one is written for my daughter Lucia, and she's my lemonade. So I can't wait for you to hear that one. Actually, I'm so excited. Yeah.
Okay. So once you get the final touches, yeah, definitely we'll have another conversation, and definitely want to hear that. But now, for now, we have, ladies and gentlemen, special guest Oksana Pist here on Deeper Than Music Radio.
Deeper
Thank you
Than Music Radio.
so much.
I try to keep my head on straight and by my word take a stand. Being calm has no expiration date, except for when bullshit's at hand. And now that it's hit the fan, too late, too late. You can spit on my shoes and say it's rain. Swear on your life you can change your game. But in your remorse and remiss, bliss on my list don't exist. Pissed at you, pissed at me, pissed at the way it turned out to be. When I think of how it went down, the little signs that I missed. Looking back on it now, I get pissed, I get pissed, I get pissed, I'm pissed. No, I don't wanna take your call and hear an excuse from your lips. I don't care if you get down on your knees and crawl, or speak of the beats your heart skips. We got no relationship, not at all, too late. You can spit on my shoes and say it's rain. Swear on your life you can change your game. But in your remorse and remiss, my list on my list don't exist. Pissed at you, pissed at me, pissed at the way it turned out to be. When I think of how it went down, the little signs that I miss. Looking back on it now, I get pissed, I get pissed, I get pissed. Damn, I'm pissed off. Looking back on it, signs I missed. No excuse at all from your lips. Looking back on it now, I got pissed. I'm pissed.
Ladies and gentlemen, Oksana Pist here on Deeper Than Music Radio. That is such a strong song. Definitely a strong song.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Did you play the entire song?
Yes. We're going through and we're playing the entire songs. We're going to play that.
Oh my goodness.
I wanted to ask you, who are your influencers? What artists influence you musically?
You know, I have quite a few favorites. I love Elton John.
Okay.
And Chrissy Hines from Pretenders, and just Chrissy Hines from Chrissy Hines. There was a wonderful singer, guitarist, very strong guitarist, Joan Armatrading, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like ABBA
Oh,
because
ABBA.
melodies the melodies are terrific, and I think they're really high frequency, from quantum physics level. I think they measured melodies of ABBA and said, wow, that's really high in frequency. That's why it was so popular and still is, right?
Yeah.
But from new artists, I love Adele and Lady Gaga. Totally respect. What a fantastic writer and performer. Madonna. I love Madonna.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of people I do respect so much for the creativity and all that passion that they share with the world. And sometimes when it's challenging, or just if you feel sad and the right song comes along on the radio, it can really cheer you up and just change the whole evening. Just turn it 180. Music is very powerful.
Oh yeah.
So I'm super lucky to. Mm-hmm.
And you said like music changes the molecules. You're right. And to that, exactly. What you said, you're so lucky. What have been career highlights? Like, what has been the most exciting time in your career so far?
I've been I've been very lucky to work with Josh Groban and David Foster, but I also had a privilege to work with Gregory Peck. He had a reading series at Mark Tape Auditorium downtown LA, and we had like 3, 4, maybe 5 performances on stage live with Vanessa Redgrave, greatest actress, her sister Lynn Redgrave, and their mother, very famous theatrical actress from London, Rachel Campbell. Unfortunately, she passed since then. That was, I think it was 2000, in the year 2000. But we did Chekhov's reading series, Anton Chekhov, the Russian writer. Mm-hmm. So they did like short stories of Anton Chekhov, like Lady with the Dog and other stories. And I was dressed in a period piece playing piano because I was actually literally playing on stage during the performances, live performances, the compositions that I came up with, and I was acting a little bit as well. But it was fantastic. It sort of felt like, like in olden days they used to roll the movies black and white, and there would be a person sitting and playing piano to the picture. Mm-hmm. So it was sort of like that, but except it was rehearsed before, if you like. Like composition is just well rehearsed, something well rehearsed, what it is, right?
Yeah.
And it was really fascinating. It was a very beautiful process, as sort of it reveals in front of you in real time.
So it's kind of like you had that nostalgic feeling that you went back in time.
It was definitely 1800s. Yes, that's the stories were based in 1800s and early 1900s.
Wow!
So it was beautiful.
And the same token, like, what has been so throughout your career and all these great things that have happened and gone for you? What would you say is the most challenging aspect of your career so far? What has been like the most challenging piece of Oksana and her music career?
That's a hard one. I think it's just to be able to write a song that is not only pleasing to yourself, it's not only meaningful to yourself, but also making changes and hopefully making changes and making differences in other people's lives, and just striking that chord in them as much as it is in you, because these are our babies. The songs and creations are our babies, so we have to be in love with them.
Yeah.
But if that's translated to other people, I think that's the most amazing and challenging, because simplicity is the key, but it still has to bring something profound, right? And and uplift. It's important to uplift other people as well.
And what you said to me reminds me of shout out to Quincy Jones, producer of Michael Jackson's Thriller and whatnot. He always says that if you don't get the goosebumps, how do you expect other people to get the goosebumps? You just spoke to that. Like, if your music doesn't give you the chills, how do you expect to other people to give you chills? So we're going to keep it rolling with another song from you, DMS.
Okay. Yeah. Fantastic. That's also about relationships. So. Yeah.
So can you give us the story on this, I mean, again, like, your songs have such interesting titles. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but could you explain from your point of view this song?
Well, this is Tony Hayes' baby. So he comes up with great, interesting sort of angles on the songs. I was collaborating lyrically with him on both of the songs. It's basically, you call it how it is, as DMS translates as I shouldn't say it on the radio, I guess.
Oh, well, I'll say it, dumbass. Yeah, I'll say it.
Right, so it's like cussing, but not really. It's basically call it as it is at a certain point when you had enough. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you call it as it is. Yes, it is about a relationship that has taught you many wonderful things, but it's time to move on. So.
Okay. And that statement really makes a statement. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, again, Deeper Than Music interview with talented Oksana, and we're here again showcasing another song, DMS, here on Deeper Than Music.
Deeper Than Music Radio.
There's a difference between being naive and enchanted and somewhere in a space that unseen, a girl can be taken for granted. No matter how book smart you are, your wits and your tits only get you so far. It is then the lesson begins, and we are done for the mother of sins. Love's a damn mess. Sometimes love can be damn best. He's looking for just a mess. You wanna love him as he is. Love's a damn mess. Sometimes love can be damn mess. He's looking for just a mess. You wanna love him as he is. There's new wisdom, it seems, learning the ropes disadvantaged. And you swear on your hopes and your dreams, you won't come out unscathed and undamaged. No matter how deeply you love, you worship someone like stars above. At their call, you bring them your all, and you can see for yourself when you fall. Love's a dumb mess. Sometimes love can be dumb mess. You're smarter than, but you don't ask.
special guests, Oksana and DMS. Another great song. And another one about relationships and pretty much telling it like it is. Oh.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, very strong and empowering music.
Thank you.
Wow. So, what would be? I mean, you've already worked with some great talent. What would be a dream collaboration for Oksana? Who would you love to work with in the industry?
Well, yes, indeed. I was very lucky. And this song's collaboration with Tony Haynes and Lloyd Tolbert, it was truly an experience. And again, I'm working with Monroe and Dave Berg. Fantastic experience, but very, very different, teaching me other things and making me stretch out and sort of step out of my comfort zone, which I love. I love learning from young people. Wow, they know way too much more than I do. But, it's fantastic, that learning experience. But I would love to work with Lady Gaga, like so much, and with Shakira.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Shakira, the Super Bowl performance between her and Jennifer Lopez. Phenomenal.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Yes, they are living their lives. And what a strong statement that is. Jennifer said, I'm living my life. So this is fantastic. And it was so, that's when I got goosebumps and chills, because the performances were out of this world, honestly. It's so beautiful. Inspiring, inspiration is everything, I think. It's all to do with spirit, and spirit is very playful. If you inspire, either your own spirit or ignite others. I think it's a beautiful thing. Lady Gaga's songwriting is, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but Lady Gaga's songwriting is so strong. Such inspiring messages. I would love to collab with her in any form, just as a writer or piano player, whatever. Just would love to be a part of that process.
You just brought up something, because she's also, like you, she's classically trained and a phenomenal piano player. And you mentioned Gaga and both Madonna. I mean, they're both, they evolve, they innovate, they're on the cutting edge of music. So, and your music is in that vein, so that makes sense.
Thank you. I appreciate your kind words. I appreciate it. Yeah.
I want to ask as well. We have our listeners listening to this music, your story. What would you say to a young person who listens to this interview, listens to your music, and I want to be like Oksana? What advice would you give them?
Creators, songwriters?
Yes.
Is that what you mean? I think the more intimate, the more personal your story is, the better it is, the closer to something magical you could get, I think, with telling the truth about yourself, naked, a glass house, as they say, just sort of talk about what you're experiencing in life. And also just maybe listening up as how a song's written. Like at the moment, everything is sort of almost like, it's very intimate, almost spoken. The voice is very, very much upfront and less production. So it's very intimate. It's almost like a conversation. So there's certain trends that are going, but still sticking to your story, to your own, something that you felt through, heartfelt, is the key, for sure. For me, at least, yeah.
You bring up such a good point, because sometimes music is cookie cutter and manufactured. And I've always said, a great musician is always one that can relate to the human experience and also connect with people. We all may come through different walks of life, but we all go through things, right? So being able to connect on the human level is phenomenal, and you speak to that.
Thank you. Because there's nothing more powerful than your own experience, and people always know, listeners always know that if you went through that or not, they sense it. You don't even have to explain. They just know innately that person, this is authentic, and it's just unescapable, you know?
Yeah. So as always with our, my interviews, and again, thank you for being on the show with time, you know. So before we
thank you for having me. Thank you.
Before we end it, I wanted to ask you two questions. First question, what does music mean to you? And the next is pretty much shameless promotion time. Social media information, what you got going on in 2020, and where can people find you? So first question, what does music mean to Oksana?
Music is therapy. It's definitely therapy. The process itself of writing, would it be instrumental or a song, a story? Instrumental, obviously, but irrelevant of the form, it's definitely therapy. And I am so uplifted after I work with wonderful, like after every session I worked with Lloyd or Tony, or right now with Dave and Monroe. It's just like a weight released, because it's therapeutic. It's like writing a diary. I don't know, leaving it to the paper, sort of letting your subconscious write that sort of monologue. I don't know. It's definitely, it's a beautiful thing.
So music is like, I got the sense that music is therapy for you, but you like to reach and inspire people, and that's very commendable. And again, like you have the music is great, it's inspiring, and it definitely strikes a chord. So
thank you.
Second question is, people listening to this, like, man, where can I find her? Social media, and what's 2020 looking for Oksana?
Well, it's actually, I think it's going to be a wonderful year. My mentor, manager, and the owner of Bungalo Records, Paul Ring, is phenomenal and a very profound human being in his own right. You know, it's just an incredible producer, also songwriter, and he finds most amazing artists. He has really beautiful artists on his record label. But we're releasing an LP, 5 songs, in the beginning of April.
Okay.
And also the 4 new songs that I've written with Monroe and Dave Berg, they're coming out probably in May. We don't know the date yet, but I'm just going to make a couple of videos for them as well. Also with Bungalo Universal Records distribution. So also you can find my music on iTunes, Amazon, and all the big, main platforms. Spotify, of course. And my Instagram account is Oksana's Music. So check it out.
And ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. So now you know the story behind the music, and now you know where you can find the music and what to expect. Great things from Oksana. So we're going to close out with the last song here. And again, thank you for your time and sharing your beautiful music and story. Move On. What's the story behind Move On?
Well, it's funny enough. All the 3 songs that you were playing today, they were written in 2019 and released then. They kind of have a very similar motive. It's sort of learning from each other. And, well, if it's not love, it just ain't right. So, and moving on, but be grateful and, send gratitude to people in your life and stay friends, but moving on, because we do grow. Sometimes we grow out of relationships. And that's okay, I guess. That's okay. As long as we're gracious and we've learned some beautiful things from each other. That's okay.
So ladies and gentlemen, Another great interview with Oksana. We're going to close out the song with Move On, and I like what she said. If it ain't right, you got to move on. So, Oksana, again, thank you for your time and sharing your great story. And once you have that LP done, we love to have you again and talk more about your music.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me and playing my music. I so appreciate you. Thank you. Love and light to you, Markivas.
And Sam to you. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. Special guest Oksana. We're closing out with Move On here on Deeper Than Music.
Thank you. Bye.
Search yourself, you know this ain't right. She keeps on leading you on, but you say it's fine. It ain't hard to tell what's on your mind, and I can get out of the way. Hope I don't regret a thing. Oh no, don't be mad at me. Feeling broken memories, even though she's gone. I can feel your energy, caught up in this misery. This is no mystery, I'm moving on. I hope you understand, I hope you understand. We're holding on to what we don't know. I hope you understand, I hope you understand. We're holding on, we gotta let it go. See, we're breaking down. What could it be? Trying to figure it out. But it came to me. I wish I could. Seems to me that I should get out of the way. Hope I don't regret a thing. Oh no, don't be mad at me. Feeling broken memories, even though she's gone. I can feel your energy, caught up in this misery. This is no mystery, I'm moving on. I hope you understand, I hope you understand. We're holding on to what we don't know. I hope you understand, I hope you understand. We're holding on, we gotta let it go, we gotta let it go. Doing something major, stuck on the one that played ya. Ain't gonna be the one to save ya, can't be your Lord and Savior. Could have been something real big, and I don't mean to be so easy. Ain't gonna be stuck in a three-way, can't be another one of your toys. So I choose, boy I refuse to be number two, now you can choose. But you need to make up your mind now, play like it's running no time now. Let it go. I hope you understand, I hope you understand. We're holding on to what we don't know. I hope you understand, I hope you understand. We're holding on, we gotta let it go. I hope you understand, I hope you understand. We're holding on to what we don't know. I hope you understand, I hope you understand. We're holding on, we gotta let it go, we gotta let it go.
Deeper Than Music Radio. Behind every great song is a greater story.